Hello, dear students. Welcome back to my channel, Wakamcho Classes. And today we'll be discussing one of the very important chapters. In fact, one of the first chapters that we have in the book, right? Hornbill. And the name of the chapter is The Portrait of a Lady. And it is written by Khuswant Singh. Now, who was Khuswant Singh? In fact, in the examination, they don't ask much about the author's, background and all. But we have to understand, he was an Indian writer and he has written many novels, okay, stories. And one of the most popular novels that he has written is A Train to Pakistan, right? Now, coming to the chapter, The Portrait of a Lady. The Portrait of a Lady, as you can see, we need to understand the title, right? The Portrait of a Lady. So, portrait is nothing but a picture, isn't it? So, in this particular story, the author is trying to give us the pain picture, remember. Okay, the pain picture. That means he is trying to describe his grandmother with what? With the help of words, right? So, the portrait of a lady. So, who is the lady here? The lady is grandmother. And whose grandmother? Author's grandmother. Khuswant Singh's grandmother, right? Now, at the very outset, I like to tell you that I won't be able to discuss the whole chapter, okay, because if I do that, then the video will be too long, too lengthy. So, in this video, I'll try and give you the key points, okay, which are often asked in the examination, right? And I'll be just discussing the main highlights of the story so that you have a kind of a rough idea of, things of the chapter, right? Okay, now let us begin. The Portrait of a Lady is the story of the author. He describes his relationship with his grandmother. So, the very important word you got to understand here is that the story is about relationship, and relationship is, you know, a very important thing in our life, isn't it? And here the author is talking about his relationship with his grandmother. He gives us the pen portrait of his grandmother by providing the daily activities that she used to do, right? So, again, I'm repeating, the author is giving us the pen picture. In fact, he's describing his grandmother in words, and he is kind of sharing with us the kind of lady that she was and the kind of daily activities that she was indulged to into, right? So this is what the chapter is all about. Now the theme is very, very important. The story portrays relationship between the author and his grandmother. Again, the same thing. And most importantly, it showcases or it depicts how this particular relationship underwent a lot of changes in due course of time. And you got to remember that any kind of relationship is not a static one. Okay, relationship is always dynamic. Now, when I say dynamic, it means that it changes frequently in due course of time. Okay, it is not always same. So this is what is highlighted in this particular story. Now, apart from this, it also depicts how love and emotion is experienced not only by human beings, sorry, not only by human beings, but also by animals and birds. That we will see in the later course of the explanation. But for now, you need to understand that, even birds and animals, okay, they do understand the language of love that has been depicted in this particular story. Okay. Now, the characters that we have in the story, first one, very important, grandmother, obviously, because the whole lesson is talking about, the whole story is talking about grandmother. So she is a kind of a fulcrum to the story, the main, a character on which the story is based. We can say that the author, who is also the narrator of the story, who is telling us the story. Now, you might be surprised to see these two, um, dogs and sparrows. Now, dogs and sparrows, we cannot say exactly as a character in here, but these two elements have been used by the author to highlight and showcase how kind hearted the grandmother was. Now, dogs, remember, in the examination, it will be asked in the village, okay, grandmother used to feed the stray dogs with the stale chapatis that she had, or the leftover chapatis, remember. That was in village. So, in the city, when they moved to the city, there are no dogs to be found. So, obviously, the only option that the grandmother has is to feed the sparrows. Okay, feed the sparrows, remember. So these are the main characters, and parents of the author are mentioned just once or twice, and they don't have that much of a role to play because everything that is going around is between grandmother and the author. Now, in this story, you got to remember two uh, aspects that have been presented. That is one, sorry, that is life in the village, okay, and number two, life in the city. And also there is a difference, okay, a comparison being made in fact between the village school and the city school. You got to understand this as well. Now, in the village, the author and his grandmother had a very good relationship, remember. So when they were in the village, author and his grandmother had a very good relationship. That is very obvious because uh, there were only two people living in the house, because author's parents were out in the city, in the town, because of some work, maybe, okay, because they were engaged in some employment, something like that. That's not made clear here. But grandmother and the author, they were two people living in the house, and grandmother used to take care of her grandson, okay, take him to school, prepare breakfast, right, give him a bath and everything. So they had a very good relationship, remember. And we are referring to, sorry, we are referring to uh, just wait, we are referring to the phase when the author was a child. So, childhood phase. The author had a very, very good relationship when he was a child. Okay? Because obviously he was dependent on his grandmother for everything, right? Number two, grandmother used to take care of the author. She used to prepare breakfast and help him in his studies as well. So, this is, obvious. Grandmother was not only caring, but also she knew the importance of education, and she used to help her, sorry, grandson in you know in terms of studying and all, studies and all. Grandmother used to accompany her grandson to the school. As now there is a kind of a mistake here. Okay, there was a temple near the school. Now you see, one thing that you got to understand is that grandmother was not only kind-hearted, but she was also a very, very religious lady. Now, how we can say that she was a religious lady? Because of the fact that she always used to chant prayers, recite prayers. In fact, she always had a rosary, okay, in her hand. And in the village, when they were in the village, she used to go along with the grandson or the author. She used to accompany her grandson, just because of the reason that you can see here. I don't know if you can understand, this is a temple, okay, because there was a temple nearby the school. So while the author was studying in the class, okay, learning his lessons and all, she used to go and sit in the temple and read holy scriptures. Such religious lady she was, okay. Every day she used to pray, every day she used to uh, count the rosary, in simple words. Now, village school and city school, this is often asked in the examination. Now remember, whatever I prepared here is from the viewpoint of your examination, the pattern they asked, okay, the question they asked. So they often ask, draw a comparison between village school and city school. That means, in simple words, you have to, mention the differences between the two. Now, in village school, the author learned alphabet and scriptures, okay, in the village school. Remember. Now, what was the difference in the city school? The author learned Western learning, remember, science and music. Now, this is important point here. Grandmother hated music. Remember, important point. Grandmother did not like music as a subject because she thought, she was of the opinion, because she was an old lady and kind of an orthodox lady, we can say. She hated music because of the fact that she thought music was not meant for gentle people. It was only meant for harlots. No, that would be a very harsh word to use it, but as the author has put it in the chapter, harlots basically means prostitute and beggars, okay? And she thought that, music was meant for only beggars or prostitutes or harlots. So she hated music, okay, that was being taught in the school, in the city school. Now, very important this, you got to remember, they often ask you to kind of give a brief character sketch of grandmother. So these are the points that you got to remember. First, she was a religious lady, and how can you say that? They often ask you that as well, because we can say that she always used to chant prayers, recite prayers, and tell the beads of a rosary. Second, she was a kind-hearted lady, and I guess you remember two things: dogs and sparrows. Remember, because she used to feed them, okay? So it portrays that she was a kind-hearted lady. She was a caring and loving person, obviously, because she took care of the author. She was a strong lady. Now, this point I got to explain it here. How we can say that she was a strong lady is because of the fact, when the author was going abroad for his studies, okay, his family was there to kind of bid him goodbye or send off, okay? And grandmother was there. She did not show any kind of emotion. She did not cry. Now, what will happen if someone who is very dear to us will just, go somewhere for say, for a period of 2 or 3 years? We tend to get emotional, isn't it? We tend to get tears on our eyes, for the matter. But grandmother did not show any emotion. That means she was a very, very strong lady. Remember, she knew how to control her emotions. That's why I have put it here that she was a very strong lady. Another point that we have is she hated music. That is obvious. Again, I have repeated the same thing. She did not like it because she thought that it was not meant for gentle people. It was not meant for, respected people. In fact, we can say in simple words, it was only meant for harlots or beggars. Right? Okay. Okay, sorry. Now, grandmother passes away. This is kind of a last, the climax of the story. You can say that when the author returned from his studies, rather studies from abroad, grandmother was very happy, and what she did was, she collected women from her neighborhood, and she started singing, okay, and she started playing that old drum. Now, that was something very amazing and shocking for the family, because it was for the first time that grandmother did not pray, right? And she was very old, so the family said, they were concerned about her health. So they went and kind of tried to stop her, but she would not listen to anyone. And because of that, the next morning she fell ill. It was a mild fever, but and grandmother knew that her end was near. That means, like, she said that now she would be no more. I mean, she would be dying very soon, because she had that kind of intuition in her. So the rosary from her hand fell, and the family knew that she was no more. So, I mean, this is a kind of a nutshell, the whole chapter, the main key highlights of the chapter or the story that I am presenting here. Of course, the chapter is little lengthy, which I can't be explaining here because it will make the video very, very long. Now, here at this point in time, I like to also explain how did the animal, the bird, showed their emotion. You got to understand this, yeah. Now, grandmother was dead, obviously, so there were sparrows in the veranda. Okay. Now, the author's grandmother used to feed those sparrows, when she was alive. Now, she was no more. So the mother of the author felt very bad, and she kind of, gave them the crumbs of breads. But shockingly, those sparrows did not eat those crumbs of bread, and they were not chirping. They were very quiet, as if they were mourning the death of the grandmother. That means, even the birds are depicted as showing their feelings or their sorrow in the story, right? So, this is the chapter in a nutshell. Hope you have understood, hope you have made out what the chapter is all about. And I'll be kind of providing you the question answers, okay, important question answers, word meanings, and MCQs in my next video. Okay, so please stay tuned, like my video, share, and subscribe for more informative videos, right? And happy learning. Thank you.